Hey Tigress, hey Tiger, another mystical walk in YONI on Air about a topic that came up recently several times in my coachings and online trainings, and I wanted to share this publicly because I think many people can benefit from it. It's again about the mystical aspect or design of our nervous system, and I came across this topic with more awareness by several people and clients sharing rough breakups in the recent past. In a way, they said, this breakup really felt like a trauma. I really have a very, very hard time getting over it. And I'm even doubting if I can get over it at all. I feel that hurt. It's really, really a traumatic event in my life. And no doubt around that if you really dive deep into a sort of relationship and open up, maybe also intimately with another person, and then you feel let down or betrayed from a completely unexpected angle and completely like all too sudden, etc., it can definitely lead to trauma inside. So what one woman, for example, shared was that she has never felt that aligned with her instincts, that aligned with her intuition, and that aligned with something like a higher will in the universe than in this meeting with this specific man. And she merged that deeply with her soul and his soul, that she really thought, okay, this is a whole new dimension of getting insight into how life should be. And there is something like that the two of us are with each other. It's just meant to be. It's the rightest thing happening on earth. So she was completely in this experience of full alignment with her inner world and full alignment with her outer world. And of course, she was incredibly grateful and blissed out and, just would have referred to this experience, if it would have been continued, to something that is the deepest healing, the most profound healing of past layers of confusion and fumbling around in terms of relationship or intimacy. So then the whole story went on in a very, very rough breakup where we have exactly those components that are often present when it comes to trauma. Completely, all too soon, completely unexpected, sudden, rough, completely off, like unnecessary, just messy, just completely, like we are sitting here in heaven and suddenly I find myself again in hell. How did I get here? I thought I would be singing with angels, and the next moment I am just covered with mud. So of course, something like this trauma leads to deep, deep inner self-doubt. It's how can I even get what has happened? How can I digest what has happened? How can I ever open up again to a person? Like there is no meeting possible for me that feels more perfect. And if I now mistrust perfection, like what is then the narrative or the direction or the orientation of my future life? So deep desperation and depletion and depression and again, deep, deep self-doubt. And of course, this deep self-doubt then in itself can be another trauma of, oh, I'm not traumatized by you because you have let me down, but I have been betrayed by my own instincts. I knew to the deepest core of my soul that this relationship is meant to be. And after a while, it turns out that the other person doesn't want, or that it's obviously not meant to be. It's not happening in this very world. So what does that say to me about my inner guidance, about my intuition? And when we refer to our instincts just as a biological thing that is around comfort and safety and resting and nourishment, then yes, it's a hard time getting why we are getting ourselves into trouble like this. Then it's like, okay, this felt that right, and it was obviously that traumatic and that wrong, and my instincts would never want me to experience a trauma or a wounding or something like this, so my instincts have been off. This is the only possible conclusion. And this is what I want to be sharing in this episode, that there is another aspect that needs to be put into the field in order to complete the picture, and that is coming from somatic mysticism. And without going into too much detail at this moment, somatic mysticism almost completes the world by adding the other side of the same coin to whatever is present in the world of forms. Let's say it like that. So when our instincts on the biological level lead us to something like comfort and safety and trust and relationship, etc., our mystical instincts are aiming at the same essence or the same core of our experience, which is about untouchable safety, which is about deep peace and deep rest, but they choose exactly the other way around. So this is so incredibly important, that yes, you might feel let down by your biological instincts from time to time in your life. And know what? Your biological instinct, I don't want to say they are letting you down, because eventually there is no difference in your biological instincts, in your very physical nervous system and your highest spiritual guidance. There is no difference between biological instincts and mystical instincts. However, in the world of forms that you are navigating your life in, it occurs in your consciousness, in your awareness, as a kind of polarity, or either this or that. So if you accept the fact that you will keep experiencing it as this is white and this is black, period, you can experience it like that. But then you having navigated yourself, or you having got yourself into a relationship that felt incredibly right and turned out to be incredibly traumatic eventually in the kind of breakup, the form of breakup, then you do not tap into the trap of self-hatred or self-doubt around, okay, my instincts have been off. But then you can tap into an insight into the other part of the same unshakable inner guidance, which is about, I used the deepest trauma. I chose somehow with my mystical instincts, my mystical guidance, the deepest trauma possible, completely opening up to the outer world, and then being let down by just everything that I relied on in the outer world. So what is left in my experience? Nothing. I'm nothing. I failed. I'm completely off. I have to doubt myself for the rest of my days. And then in this mystical, sacred initiation through absolute betrayal, something in you will become reawakened that is about the whole world outside. Every god even can let me down. It doesn't shake my own groundedness to the very core. What I am in my essence is unshakably safe from whatever happens around, whatever is done to me from the outer world. And it's like your biological instincts. I could say, like, again, we are navigating language because, of course, your biological instincts know. But let's say they do not know. But your mystical instincts know. So when your biological instincts, again, we are talking about your layers or your polarity in your consciousness, in your awareness, in your experience, in your metrics. When your biological instincts are navigating towards touch and nourishment and trust and safety and cuddling, etc., your mystical instincts are aiming at the same essence of the experience than as your biological instincts, but they are choosing the path of death. They are choosing the path of freedom. I would call it the path of freedom in my work, instead of the path of words, which is all about, okay, this feels great, so this is right. This feels off, so it is off. So the mystical instincts kind of, when you are only navigating with this polarity of, defining safe as safe, instead of rediscovering the absolute safety by being exposed by your inner guidance to absolute unsafety. When you keep defining the world only with this one side of the coin, you always create the option in what can happen to you by the world somehow ending, your experience somehow stopping, your breath like ending. It's just like, okay, I hold my breath. This can't be true. The moment you can do the jump, once your mystical instincts, your mystical inner guidance did the job, you can jump into completing the world by jumping into the other pole. And then the world can't stop. Then nothing makes the world really end, because you just, so to speak, surf back and forth between being oriented in the biological matrix or in the mystical matrix. So I'm not certain if this is understandable in the form of a podcast. However, I feel very curious about giving it a try, even with my English and even in language. And I'm super curious about how this lands, if that makes sense for you, if you feel like from time to time, yes, your biological interpretation of your instincts has let you down, but your mystical interpretation becomes the even more vivid and obvious for you. And because eventually mysticism is not a thing for some people. It's not a truth for some people. It's a matrix that we can describe. And there is like no alternative. And at the same time, of course, there is no need for talking about that. There is no need for saying that this is true. It's just, it's an option, and it's a playful option that I love playing with at the moment. So thank you for listening, and thank you for your mystical curiosity, and speak to you soon. Bye.